All right, fifth grade, we are going to be finishing up our pouches today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first unravel all of my yarn, which I've showed you guys how to store nice and neatly with the needle still facing out. I am going to change things up a little bit. And this is great for those of you that haven't really had a lot of time to work on these yet, because I know you've got a lot of other classwork to do, and that's totally understandable. But I'm going to kind of use these as a starting point for the side of my flap for my pouch. So first thing you need to do is decide which side is going to have the flap closure. So if you have a really interesting design on one side more than the other, maybe you want that side to show when the flap is open, or you don't want the flap to be attached to that. So I think I am actually going to put my flap on this side. I like that design though, so maybe I'll run one more row, and you can probably hear the rain outside. I'll run one more row of weaving before I start doing my flap. So first thing we're going to do is, as I said, I want to choose the side that my flap is on. So if my pocket is open like this and the flap closes like that, the flap being on this side means that I'll still get to see that really cool design on the outside of the bag. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we have enough yarn to start and do a couple of rows. Now remember, last year we were doing our tapestry weaving, which was just flat weaving on one side. So you're going to go back to that skill now and just weave one row on that one side to start your flap. And pull your yarn through, pull, pull, pull. Now when you're pulling, for these you could pull pretty tight because the sides are going to actually compress together. When you're working on your flap, what we want to avoid is having it be curved inwards. So we don't want it to buckle or pull too hard. We do want to continue to tuck or beat our weaving. And once we have that first row done, we are not going to flip over our loom. Repeat, not going to flip it over because we're making the closure now, and the closure is only on one side of the weaving. So we're just going to go back on that same side. This yarn is really, really, really thin, and it likes to come undone. So I actually just twist it around twice and then pull the knot through. But we're under, so then we need to go over. And pull through. And tuck. And again, you do not want to pull really, really hard because you do not want it to go in like a tree trunk. You want it to be nice and straight and flat. And again, not flipping my weaving anymore, just going back and forth in a zigzag. So this will take a little bit of time. You're going to want your flap to be around 2 inches tall. So 2 inches would be 2 thumbs. Taller would be better, but you need to keep in mind that part of finishing this means that you're going to have to remove these strings from where they are and use them as ties, which we'll do pretty soon. So I'm just gonna continue to weave on my one side for the flap. And tuck. And notice I'm not yanking it into the middle or to one side or the other. I'm just going straight up, as straight as I can. Even tension and pressure. So I have a little bit of buckling here. You can see how my yarn has pulled in my warp strings to the middle. I want to watch for that, and it's easy to do that if you're tying on a new color because you naturally want to pull it tight to make sure your knot holds. But just keep in mind that we don't want it to wiggle into the middle. And a reminder, the only way I'm going to know that you did this is if you send me a picture. You do not have to send me your project at school. You must email it to me or upload it to your drive and then email it to me, or text it to my email, whatever way works for you. Have a parent take a picture of it. However, it's going to be easiest for you to make sure that you have your work documented and that I know that you did it. And after this project, we're going to move on to something else. I have some ideas, but I'm still looking and thinking about it. So if you have a cool idea for something that we could do at home for an art project, please let me know in your email or forward that information to your classroom teacher, because I'm sure she would let me know if you had anything cool to share with me. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to zoom this in so you can see very closely what I'm about to do. I'm going to act like I'm going to actually weave through, but I'm just going to put my needle through that first string behind it, and I'm going to put my needle in that loop, and that's actually going to tie a knot to secure the string onto the warp. And I'm going to do that again. So I'm actually going to go back around and make a loop and put my needle in it and pull through. So now I've got 2 knots on the end, and I can cut this string off. Now we've got a whole bunch of warp string that needs to go somewhere to finish. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut up at the top our warp strings, and you want to keep them facing the top. Okay, don't let them go all over the place, and do not let them loosen at all. So when you cut them, what you're doing is you're saying this is now its own side. Okay, even though it's all interconnected, which I'll show you soon, and I'm very excited to show you because it means that we're done. You want to make sure that you treat these as separate sides first. Okay. Now we got all these weirdo strings, right? What you're going to do is you're going to take 2 strings at a time, the ones next to each other, and you're going to double knot them. So you're going to cross your strings and over, under, and pull down. And don't pull down so hard that it shrinks everything. Just pull down until it touches the yarn. So cross, over, under, pull. And then we do that all the way across. I like to start on the opposite corners because then I can meet them in the middle. So all of these are tied, and then we have these 3 that are not tied to anything. So an easy way to do this is just to tie them all together to each other. Good. So this is no longer attached up here, and we're going to do the same exact thing on the opposite side. The string ain't going nowhere. And the nice thing is you don't actually have to cut these, you just pull them through from the other side on the top. So over, under, pull. And I bet you know what we're going to do on this side. Same deal. Try to get all of your yellow or your warp strings to face up so you can trim them down. and haircut. Okay, zoom back out, and we are to the end, friends. Now we have a very nice, even, tight weaving on here that is hard to pull off, which is great. This is the part where I get a little sad because we have to kind of abuse our weaving a little bit, but not much. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold your loom gently. Don't try to rip it, okay? Because we're going to try and loosen our weaving off the loom without breaking it. Now, it's a pretty tight fit, but you should be able to scooch it down. And you've got all these little tabbies here. They might get ripped or pulled off, but this is your loom. That might happen. So I've pulled it inside out, which is actually fantastic because then that hides all them little tabbies and knots. And then we're going to very gently ease this off. And you have a woven pouch. Now, we got a gap down here. We can kind of wiggle around our yarn to loosen and tighten it. But that is that. Now, if you wove tight the whole time, you would probably not have any gaps or holes. But if you do have a gap or a hole, just kind of wiggle your weaving around until it closes back up. Ooh, yeah. She's all done. Make sure that you take a picture and email it to me so I can grade what you have done. I am mostly just going to grade that you did it. It's not going to be about good or bad or cool or, interesting designs. If you like the way it looks facing the other way, you can, of course, put it back the way that it was. Like, I like this weird fuzzy yarn. But there you have it. That's how you make a woven pouch. Done.